the sun is angry today. Like, whoo, it's reflecting and cooking my, anyway. So today we're gonna do an install of the coolest thing I've ever been given for my bike from a manufacturer. So I'm a little blown away by this, a little nervous because, to be honest, I don't know how to represent a quality product that well. So we've got some really good stuff coming in lately for the bike. We got lights from Custom Dynamics. We got the whole rear end from Advan Black. We've now got this, and they might be disappointed in me. I apologize in advance. So we'll get to the thing. So those of us that really dig into our bikes after we buy one, there's a couple things you do immediately, right? At least that I've always done, is you immediately rip out that air box and put in a high flow air box. Pick your flavor, they all kind of do the same thing. Get more air in the motor, and then you immediately rip off the exhaust, and you put something to let some sound out. Then you gotta tune it. Then you might do bars, you know, that I always do. Lately, people are doing stereos. Not my thing, but you know, I get it. I like that. I have one, and I think it's good to be louder at 80 mile an hour. Probably change your seat to get one more comfortable in stock. Chrome bits, you know, and things like that. But something I've never done to a bike, and I've had so many of you out there say, I cannot believe you've never done, is suspension. I've been riding Harleys for coming up 20 years. I mean, I've been on the back of one when I was a kid, and then I went through a period where I had a bunch of Japanese motorcycles, and then bought my first Harleys 18 years ago. So, and I've never once changed the suspension on a bike. I just never did it. And all of you out there are like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, that's one of the things you do first. Didn't know, especially when you ride a big bagger. So, and I'll have to go back and look through who it was that said this, but someone said, you need to contact a company called Wilbers. So ta-da, Wilbers is what we're doing today. Wilbers is a super high-end suspension company based out of Europe. They came to the States not that long ago and are now designing shocks and suspension systems for Harley baggers. Or dressers, as someone corrected me earlier. When I was a kid, it was called a dresser. Now we call it a bagger. I don't know what happened. And a full dresser had a tour pack. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. So we're going to put a Wilbers suspension on this bike today. I'm a little intimidated because these are like the Bentley Rolls-Royce of suspension systems. And not only are we putting Wilbur suspension on here, we're putting their top of the line system on it. So let me pause here and we'll do an unboxing. So what I have here is the Nevomat system. Nevomat system. The full suspension system. When you do, you know, one of these things, you typically talk to the bosses at the company, and they talk to you and say, do we really want to trust this guy with, you know, providing them with product, because it's a significant investment, and you know, this, that, and the other. And I spoke to the CEO, a gentleman named Klaus, really nice guy, and spoke to his right-hand man there in the States, here in the States, and really nice guys. I mean, like, had a couple conversations, always a pleasure to talk to, and we talked a lot about my style of riding, because these suspensions come out of the box tuned for you. So I sent them what I weigh, and then they're like, that's not possible. And I was like, no, really? And they're like, no, really. I mean, like, only an elephant weighs that much. I'm like, no, really, that's what I weigh. No, we went there. I gave it how much I weigh. Of course, they knew the model of bike I had. Typically, how much I carry my tour pack. How often do I have my tour pack on? I mean, like, a lot of questions. So these could be dialed in perfectly for me when they come out of the box. So let's go ahead and take a look at these things. They did send me the whole system. The front springs, fluid. I mean, look at here. Everything you need to actually do the front end as well. All right. Now, when I spoke to them, they call them the zero friction springs. They're supposed to be just glide much nicer, etc. When I spoke to them, I said, there's a few things on a bike that I don't do. I'm a DIY kind of guy. There's two things I don't do, or at least haven't thus far. I don't crack open engine casings. A man's got to know his limitations, as John Wayne said. I don't crack open engine casings, and I don't get into forks. Everything else I'll do and have done. Ape hangers, brakes, swap out a wheel and tire, body. I even painted the old Road King I built forever ago. So there's not much I won't do, but I just don't feel comfortable with forks and cracking open an engine casing. They were really cool about it. They said, admittedly, 90 to 95% of the benefit of one of these suspension systems is the rear shocks. So they said, we're going to send it to you, and then if you want to take it to a tech and have it done, which I might eventually, that's fine, but you're going to get most of the benefit out of this from these shocks. As a matter of fact, the majority of the cost of this is the rear shocks, is you're not paying a whole lot for this for the actual front fork springs. So let's take a look at the shocks. So here you go, adjuster tool, which I don't know that I'll need because again it comes ready to go. Look at these things. So now I'm going to go into a bit what makes these so unique, because these are truly, you know, unique shocks, you know, for a Harley bagger. And I'm going to try and do my best to cut in some bits that I found on their site that are really cool. So the reason these shocks are different is they're self-leveling. When you apply all the weight to this bike, it squats, and then you put a passenger on and you load your bags and this, that, and the other, and it squats more, and then you're riding around like that. The Nebo mats readjust. So as you take off, there's no electric motors or all that stuff. It's just the engineering of the shock itself. As you're rolling down the road, and I think it says over 1,000 feet, the bouncing of the bike brings it back up to stock, and it re-levels the motorcycle. If at least I'll put a link in here, but there's a video they have on their website that I can't duplicate because it's camera work that I'm not smart enough to do. But they actually showed one of these bikes with their saddlebag off on the left side, and like a red mark at the bike, and then a red mark at the shock tower. And you know, when you first get on the bike, it goes whoop, and they go uneven, and then as you ride, it kind of bounces, you know, back up to level. It's very cool. So this is probably like the easiest install you can do on a bike. It's 4 bolts. So again, I'm going to pop off these old shocks and we're going to look at them, you know, on the table next to each other. All you need is a 3/4 inch ratchet, power one if you got one, and a bike jack. So you want to get the back tire off the ground. You don't want the bike under pressure when you're taking shocks off, or bad day you're going to have. So I use my janky old Craftsman bike jack that's literally 20 years old and crooked, and the bike sits uneven and unsafe and whatnot. So that's what I'm using today to lift my bike up, but hopefully you have something better. But in a minute we'll come back and we'll look at the differences in these shocks, because I was just laughing looking at this guy compared to what I'm taking off. And it's pretty funny, so we'll be back in a second. So a quick stop commercial break. I'm a sucker for great marketing, and in the box was a little Wilbers keychain that's a shock, and it works. Like, I mean, that's cool. I love this thing. So anyway, I'm sorry. I apologize to Wilbers in advance for, yeah, I mean, you guys let this idiot represent you. Anyway, so here's the stock versus like what Wilbers gives you. Look at this. Look at the difference. This is the stock right side shock. That's the Wilbers right side shock. I mean, look at this spring, you know. Now, the stock left side shock, the adjuster on it, you know, the interiors of the shock itself, the Wilbers shock. You don't need this on this because it comes from the factory adjusted for you. And actually, fun fact, I've been told anyone running a full loaded bike should just crank this all the way up to, what is it, 20? Yeah. So the shock is basically not strong enough for the bike from the factory if you're running an ultra limited. So they're saying just turn it all the way up to 20. So anyway, so there's your stock shock here, adjustable shock, and then the Wilbers Nebo Mat shock. So I did check the instructions just because I don't want to put these on upside down, like that would be possible. But hey, you know, the instructions show you where the labels go, so it's been done. So we're going to put these on real quick. Again, it's 4 bolts with a 3/4 help me, socket. So there's nothing to this, 4 bolts. We'll pop these on, and then I'll show you, and then I got to go get ready, and we're going to go for a ride in a thunderstorm, proving the safety. We'll be back.
Okay, first ride. I'll tell you what, I have a brick driveway, and call me nuts, but just backing it out of the driveway, I could feel a difference. I know that sounds insane, but all these driveways you can see off to the right, that's what I have, and you know, it's brick, so you can always feel it. It's just, wow, okay. So this is exciting. The first time I've ever ridden a bike with aftermarket suspension in my life. I own a ton of bikes. I've done a ton of things at home to stuff. My own exhaust, my own, oh my God, that was amazing. I just went over the ridge and the asphalt. Let's go over a manhole cover just for, oh wow. So I've never ridden a bike in my life with aftermarket suspension on it. And this is, I haven't even hit any serious bumps or bumpy roads yet. This is just riding on pavement. And wow. Wow. No BS, guys. This is intense. This is different. It's just so much smoother. I can't describe it. Now I want to do the front fork springs. Yeah. This is nice. I like this a lot. So as I said before, this suspension is Wilbers, W-I-L-B-E-R-S, and it's incredible. I mean, I'm really impressed with this. This is going to be great on long trips. Yeah, okay, so I just went over that manhole cover, and I'll do it again. And I can feel it in my forks, but not in my rear. So, you know, they say that 90% of this kit, the benefits of it come from the shocks. So the forks are, you know, not a big deal. So when I told them I really didn't want to tear into my forks, almost hit a bird. That would have been good. That would have been great YouTube to take out a bird during a test ride. And I mean, I was a millimeter away. Yeah, there's 90% of it is the shocks. But they do again give you the, you know, the springs and everything if you buy the full kit. And now I'm really wanting to do that. I'll just pay the labor. I'll take it up to a shop and pay them to do it. I'm not going to tear forks apart. Just not my thing. I'm sure someone out there's going to say it ain't that hard. Don't be afraid of it. But you know, I'm just too concerned that it might, you know, come apart when I'm going down the road. Forks are a pretty important part of your motorcycle, I hear. So I think that's about it. What's the verdict? This is incredible. I can't believe I've never done the suspension on a bike before. It is definitely a worthwhile investment, that's for sure. And I'm really pleased with the Wilbers shocks. So thanks again to Wilbers. I mean, I'll mention them a lot because this is a big deal. I mean, for this channel, we're, you know, this is a small channel. We have about, I don't know, coming up on 12,000 subscribers, and that's not tiny, but you know, we're not, you know, 350,000 subscribers. So thanks a bunch to Wilbers. I really appreciate it. One thing I'll mention too, I said this earlier, but I'm gonna say it again. There are certain companies I like working with because you can tell that the people that work there love bikes. You know, this isn't just like business, you know. And Wilbers is one of them. So I've been on the phone with them today, just asking a few questions here and there, and they're just great dudes. They're really nice guys, very helpful. And you got to remember, you know, they gave me this suspension system. So when I call, some companies would treat you very differently, right? They treated me like a customer. When I called, they said like, oh yeah, this is how that works, and this and that. And this wasn't complicated stuff. It actually related to my exhaust. My S&S pipe, some of you heard I mentioned before that I had some trouble with it when I did the bags because it just doesn't sit straight. And it's not just the rotating the muffler on the head pipe. The divot in the muffler is not big enough for the swing arm and whatnot. It's centered and still there's some contact, and you know, so talked to them for a while. Wilbers was incredibly helpful, even though it's not even their stuff, and just gave me some ideas. And what I ended up doing was enlarging the divot a little bit to make some room, and then it fixed everything. So again, not their fault or the bike's, just this S&S Sidewinder has some alignment issues on the 21 because there's no proper bracket for it. And anyway, just trust me. But they're really, really good people. I really enjoyed talking to them. I highly recommend it. If you're in the market for suspension, this is the one. I mean, I'm loving this ride right now so much that I'm going to go to Royal Palm Brewing right now, pick up a 6-pack of some very special cerveza, and have a beer in celebration tonight. So take care of each other out there. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk soon. Next Friday is the next Monkey live stream, so me and the missus will be sitting at the desk having a drink or 19, and just sort of chit-chatting with all of our friends out there. So please join us next Friday, May the something. Can you tell I don't know calendars? I think it's the 7th, whatever the first Friday in May is. That's when we'll be at the desk having a good time. So again, take care of each other out there. We'll talk soon, and bye.